It's complaining about the internet already. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome. This is our second annual State of the Martial Arts live stream put on by Whistlekick. If you don't know me, I am Jeremy Lesniak. I'm the founder and president here at Whistlekick, where everything we do is in support of the traditional martial arts on a global scale. We're here to support you as a traditional martial artist, whether you are a student, an instructor, a school owner, or perhaps a passionate fan from afar. We do many things, and they are all in an effort to get everyone in the world to train for even just 6 months, because we believe martial arts brings out the best in us, and we believe that a world full of martial artists, even former martial artists, would be a much better one to live in. We did this live stream first last year, admittedly on a bit of a whim, and it was very well received, and we realized that the industry needed more of this. So that is why we are doing this yet again. It's our second annual. Will it happen a third time? I would expect so. If you know anything about what we do, we tend to get into a groove and we just keep on rolling. What can you expect from this evening's live stream? Well, we're going to talk about the industry. We're going to talk about where we've been, where we think we are going. I'm going to offer some thoughts. I'm going to bring on some special guests pre-recorded, and we're going to tell you about all the things that we think you want to know. Unlike many of our formats, this is not going to be comment driven. You are welcome to leave comments, and we do have folks in place to monitor those. And if there is important information to shift over to get to me as the one coordinating the live stream, I shouldn't say coordinating, Andrea's coordinating, to get that information to me to talk to you, we will do that. But if you want to engage, the best way to do is with that after. We're going to remind you later, but my email address, jeremy@whistlekick.com. It's very simple. I want to thank you for being here. Thank you for your trust and your time, and let's get rolling. So what's our goal? Our goal here today is that you leave more informed, maybe more passionate. Maybe you get some ideas on things that are coming. Maybe you understand that some of the challenges that you've had, you're not alone. We're all about community here. If you're watching this, whether it's live or later, perhaps you're listening to it, you're still part of this community, this group of traditional martial artists around the world. I want to thank the Whistlekick team for all the things that they did helping us get this rolling, and let's do it. So 2023 was a big year. It was a big year for Whistlekick. It was a big year for the martial arts world, because we're starting to figure out what we look like as martial artists with technology. We're starting to understand how technology and the traditions that we've held on to for so long can actually work together. I'm going to talk about some of the things that we've done here at Whistlekick, and then we're going to dive in on some of the industry things. So there are a few things that happened for Whistlekick that I think, even though this is not a commercial, I think I would be remiss in not mentioning. The first one is Whistlekick Alliance, which is an organization that we put forward the end of last year that is intended to bring martial arts schools together to support them in some of their most common needs. If you want to learn more about that, you can go to whistlekick.com. All this stuff, you can go to whistlekick.com. But the reason I think it's really important is it is the sort of program I heard time and again from martial arts school owners asking, saying, this is what I needed. I need something that is both affordable and not time consuming. And well, that's what we rolled out. Martial Summit, our seminal free training day event, grew into a 4-day event where the majority of it was free, because we believe we can still deliver our best stuff for free, even as a live experience. And that was proven true. It was an absolutely wonderful event. It's happening again. Again, you can learn more at whistlekick.com. Whistlekick Martial Arts Radio, which here we are, we're nearly at episode 900. We are 9 years in. And for many of those years, we have been the top traditional martial arts podcast in the world. If you're not checking it out, perhaps you should. And finally, just over a year ago, we launched MATIC, the Martial Arts Teacher Training and Certification Division of whistlekick, because we felt that was something that was missing. And in the past year, we have certified dozens of martial arts instructors and made them better and made their schools better and made their students better as an extension. We're all very proud of those things. And we encourage, in fact, nearly beg others in the industry to do more of these things. I have said from day one that this is not meant to be whistlekick versus the world. I had conversations today. I continue to have conversations with other martial artists. There is more than enough food here for all of us. There are more than enough people. We're going to talk more about that later. The enemy of your martial arts school is not the school across town. The enemy of our business is not the other organizations that are supporting the martial arts industry. I believe that wholeheartedly. Maybe some of them don't, but that's okay. We're still willing to play ball. Now, as an industry, one of the first things I have here in my notes is the coaching trend of the last few years has shifted. Now it's all marketers. And if you have a martial arts school, you've probably been bombarded by folks promising you dozens or hundreds or certain vast quantities of new students for some variance of pricing and different guarantees. Well, most of us know that most of those offers are, in fact, invalid. They're not real. And much of that comes from the fact that they're not coming from people who understand our industry and what we do. Sure, we can get people in the door short term. We can lie to them. We can promise them the world. But if we can't deliver on that, they leave. And that doesn't help anybody. I say that the best thing for you to do is to fully understand how your school works. Maybe you're outsourcing some marketing. It doesn't even have to be a martial artist who's doing your marketing. But recognize that if it seems gimmicky, whether we're talking about martial arts training or marketing or weight loss plans, it's probably gimmicky and it's probably short-lived. I'm seeing two trends, and they almost seem in conflict, but I don't really think they are. The first is I see schools doubling down on what most of us would call very traditional training. But at the same time, other schools, in fact, even some of the same schools, are incorporating fitness classes and youth camps and other things like that. And I think not only are both of these possible, they certainly can coexist, but in fact, I would say that it's beneficial. See, we all train for different reasons. If you're familiar with our 6 freedoms of martial arts, which we'll touch on later, we all need different things because we all want different results. If I want fitness as my prime reason for training, I'm going to expect and benefit from a different martial arts program than perhaps you do if your primary why is self-defense. That doesn't make one better than the other. And if you've had to write class plans before, you know how challenging it can be that in one class you give people a good fitness workout and you help them advance their self-defense techniques, and you give the others all of their why reasons for being there. So segmenting classes, whether that's everybody on the same track, but different classes at different times, or maybe there's a rotation, or maybe you have wholly different curriculum in these different programs. I think all are good. Whatever works for you in your school. Continue to look for those opportunities to find what stands out for your school. Now, I see the true difference in schools is not about traditional or not, or fitness programs, youth programs, super traditional. It's actually on the priority. See, I think we can look at martial arts schools and we can very quickly divide them into one of two groups. Group one, schools for which revenue, money, dollars, profit is the first thing that they think of. And then we've got all the rest. Now, I'm a business owner. I'm not at all suggesting that we shouldn't care about dollars. If your school goes out of business, you can't help anybody. But when the beginning and even the middle of your reasons for doing the things you do in your school are about dollars, you're probably making some compromised decisions. And those decisions don't serve your students. They don't serve the industry. They don't serve your potential students, your community, and they don't serve yourself. So my hope is, if you have a school like that, you'll recognize that you're probably not as fulfilled as you would be if maybe you put some other things in place. See, there's this interesting thing that happens in martial arts schools and happens in a lot of businesses, most service-based businesses. If you focus on retention, you end up with recruitment. If you only focus on recruitment, you tend to not have very good retention. I work with a lot of martial arts schools. I see this happen time and again. It's the schools that make sure they deliver the best possible experience to their students that do the best, that attract the most new students. Maybe it seems counterintuitive, but it is what happens and it is what works. I'm going to shift. I'm going to share something with you now. So before I do, if you've been around for a while, here's your whistlekick history. 5 years ago, it blew my mind that this was 5 years ago. 5 years ago, we attempted to launch something called the Whistlekick Report, survey-based statistical data that all of you had access to. And it just proved to be too much. If you know me, you know I have a lot on my plate. I've always had a lot on my plate, and it just didn't happen. But shout out to Sarah Beth, who's come on, and we're working that stuff together, and she's doing a great job. And we actually relaunched the Whistlekick Report, and I've got some data here for you, and we're going to just quickly go through that. And I think you'll dig it. We're going to continue to do more of this stuff. And if you want to engage on it, go to the, I'll remind you at the end, whistlekick.com, go to the schools tab, and you'll see the Whistlekick Report in there, and you can sign up to get notified. We put it out on our emails and everything like that. So let me share this. Andrew's doing most of this, but this part I'm doing just to make sure. No, don't need audio. Using StreamYard, by the way. If anybody's doing live streams, we prefer to use. So here we go. Let's go through. Let's hit some of the highlights here. Yep. All right. I want to apologize to everyone. Technical issues, right? This is part of the challenge of doing things live. So you're still here. Thank you for still being here. And I can't say for certain what caused that, but I'll tell you what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to reshare that image with you again. And if you want to check out that report, please go to whistlekick.com for the whistlekick report. I am instead going to continue down through my notes. This is the beauty of live, quote, TV, right? You never know what you're going to get. I wish this wasn't seltzer right now. All right. Moving on. All right. Let's talk about AI. So artificial intelligence, AI, became a huge topic of conversation in 2023. We're seeing conversations around legislating it. We're seeing conversations around ethics. But I'm not seeing a lot of conversations in the world of martial arts. Why? Well, because I don't think we fully understand what it's going to do to and for us. See, AI is predicted to take quite a few jobs away, but if you make your living teaching martial arts, it's probably not going to take your job. It's rather unlikely because what we do, we have found, maybe you can do it online, but it really is best as an in-person live experience. What's ultimately going to change that for all of us as instructors? It's VR, virtual reality, coupled with holograms. Until we get both of those technologies married up, which the technology is there, but until we get there, I don't think anybody has to worry. But it doesn't mean that AI doesn't have some implications for you as a martial artist. So first, it's got some dramatic changes on the marketing side. Anybody else out there getting better junk email that you think isn't junk? Oh, a lot of that is AI driven. And some of that's good if you're getting emails about things you actually want. But if it's not, maybe it's not. And it's something that we need to keep in mind because as we market to potential students, we need to be aware of what the rest of the world is marketing to them as well, even if it has nothing to do with martial arts. And this is why, you probably didn't hear it as I was going through the whistlekick report. Word of mouth continues to be, and I believe will become even increasingly more important as a recruitment tool. If you're not incentivizing your students in some way, whether that's a public thank you or maybe it's an incentive program for bringing in their friends and their family, I would encourage you to do so. Now, AI does create some challenges, but also creates a lot of opportunity for us and opportunities that I think we need to be aware of. If you're a school owner or an instructor, AI tools like ChatGPT can very quickly help you create class plans or just general written content. What if you want to send all of your students home with a handout that summarizes what we did in class today and what they might consider as home practice over the next few days? AI is a wonderful tool for that. If you've been watching, you probably see a lot of images on social media that are AI generated. And for a while, they were really bad. Early 2023, even mid 2023, they were really bad. People with 7 fingers and 2 toes and weird hands and everything. But now they've gotten really good. You can still tell that they're AI, but you can very quickly generate an image that goes with things. Instead of digging around the internet for a public use image that goes with what you need to say, you can quickly generate something that is custom. And that's great. Now, video, AI video is here, but it's not really prominent yet. It takes a lot of resources and it's not ready for prime time. But here's what I see coming. And I would guess this is going to be available to those of you out there who are really cutting edge in 2024. The ability to take multiple angles of video and combine it in such a way that people can real time pause, twist, change angles by taking probably just a front and a back. Maybe you need 3 angles. We'll see. And why would someone want that? Learning techniques at home. What if you could send your students home with a, hey, not just here's a video of your new form, but here is a fully 3D manipulatable video of your form. So when they say, what's happening there? They can slow it down, they can twist it, they can zoom in and watch exactly what your hand is doing. Pretty cool stuff. It will be here. I'm not saying you have to do any of these things, but I would encourage you to be aware of them and play with them and test them. And when you see something that makes your life better or your students' lives better, give it a shot. Doesn't mean you have to keep doing it if it doesn't work. We talked a bit about social media. Let's dig into social media more now. I believe we talked about this last year, but it's gotten worse. We continue to feed the trolls. Stop feeding the trolls. When the jerks show up on social media, being a jerk back to them, that doesn't help anybody. In fact, it makes other martial artists look bad. We preach confidence, self-esteem, being able to walk away when needed. And then so many of us get bent out of shape from a comment from a stranger online across the world. That doesn't really add up now, does it? Now, I understand. It sucks when people call you out. It sucks when people make negative comments about you. I get it every day. But sometimes you have to recognize that why are they doing that? Well, they're tearing you down because you've built something up. Trolls, bullies, don't go after people that they see as below them. They go after people that they see as above them. So by definition, they don't even think that they're as good as you. So don't worry about them. Now, sadly, I'm seeing more and more people intentionally provoking trolls and using that to build an online following. Well, sure, that might get you some numbers, get you some likes, some comments, some follows. But how does that make your life better? How does it build your school? How does it build your career? How does it make you a better practitioner? The answer is it doesn't do any of those things. What it does is it gives you numbers that you can point to and say, look how special I am. It's not worth it. You're better than that. And the people around you deserve better than that. Stop feeding the trolls. When we look at social media, the algorithms that we have in place, the ones that decide what content is going to be shown to what people, they're not as forgiving as they used to be. I've watched this over the decade that whistlekick has been operational. In the early days, it was really easy for us to get dozens, even hundreds of likes and a few dozen comments on a post. And now what I see on Facebook, primarily Facebook, while it's still our biggest platform, it has our lowest return. We're seeing a lot of value in other platforms compared to Facebook, but overall, those trends still seem to be moving down. The one exception, potentially, and it depends on how you do things, is TikTok. And if you don't have a presence on TikTok, I would encourage you to explore it. Is it a great platform? No, none of them are. They all carry their issues. But it doesn't mean that there isn't a way for you to get some value out of it. So I would encourage you to check that out. Now, ironically, as that's happened, I'm seeing social media advertising cost come down. That for the same amount of money, we can be more effective now than we ever were. And that fascinates me. And we'll skip why I think that's happening because it gets a little technical, a little nerdy, and most of you probably don't care. But the point being, if you have a martial arts school and you are not putting a little bit of money in to social media advertising, I think you're missing out. Remember, you could do something for $1 a day. And I probably should say this here, if you don't want to do it yourself, that's one of the things Whistlekick Alliance does. So you can check that out at whistlekick.com. Also, I'm seeing great results, and a lot of us are seeing great results with AI generated images and even text coupled with social media ads. And the best part about that is it gives you the opportunity to really quickly iterate and say, that image didn't work, I want to change it in this way, and test that as well. Another thing we need to consider in the intersection of social media and AI is that as AI has gotten more prominent, more and more people are becoming distrustful of the things that are out there. It doesn't take very long scrolling through comments on something controversial to see that the old cliche, last year's cliche of fake news, has very quickly been replaced by that's AI, that's fake, that's generated, that's not real. And that trend is going to continue. And that's going to leave people craving authenticity. There's nothing more authentic than the experience that a martial arts class provides. The ability to get in there and sweat, and depending on the kind of program you run, whether you're punching things, you're punching people, you're banging forearms, that's an authentic experience. There's something really primal in that for a lot of people. And to continue to offer that is absolutely wonderful. But how are you going to stand out if I'm telling you that social media and advertising is going to be flooded with AI or fake content, depending on how you want to call it? Well, it's live video. It's things like this. Why do you think we do live video? One, we're trying to reach people. Two, we're trying to remind you that we are real people who care about the martial arts. And I'm here showing up in I'm going to say all my glory, but I'm here in my home. This is the real me. And live video is going to be the last thing that AI is able to fake. So if you don't currently do some live video, both as recruitment and retention in your martial arts school, I would encourage you to do so soon. Now, as martial arts students, you might think this has less impact on you, but if we think back to how our experience as martial artists changed as YouTube came along, AI is going to do some similar things. And I don't know exactly what those are going to be, but we need to be aware of them. And we need to recognize that if we value the school that we train in and our friends at other schools, if we value competitions, we need to support them. And we need to recognize that not everything that is out there is going to be real. The last thing before we move on to our next section, I'm going to encourage all of you school owners or just general business people. Some of you out there might have businesses that aren't in the martial arts, and I think this advice stands just as well. As people become more skeptical of things that are not, more skeptical of things just in general, questioning whether things are computer generated, your ability to reach out and talk to them is going to become more important. Email kind of went through a dip. I think it's coming back. I'm seeing that in the numbers right now. And if you don't currently have an email list of your students and potential students and past students, it's time to get one together. It's time to make sure that you have a plan for reaching out to them with value, not just here's the class schedule, but real value. What do your students want? What do your potential students want? What would your past students want that might get them to come back or just think positively about their experience? And making sure that you deliver that to them in a true, honest way. The word authentic is getting kicked around, but there isn't a better one. Be authentic with what you are, who you are, to the people that you care about. Okay. So I have said, I've gone on record, I guess, quite a bit to say that I think there's opportunity for the martial arts industry to grow. I'm scrolling through my notes if you can't tell. So how do we grow? How do we get more people participating in martial arts? Because let's face it, the majority of people are not training right now. And the majority of people do not train ever. The last numbers that I have suggest 7% of the people in the United States. No, that's not right at all. I'm sorry. I've forgotten my number there. That wasn't on my list. Okay, 7 million people. There we go. So whatever that percentage is. And that percentage is roughly half of what we see globally, just with some rough numbers. The United States is a leader in a lot of things. We are not a leader in terms of martial arts participation. We can do better. And this live stream isn't simply for folks in America. It's for everyone. But my point being, there isn't a country I'm aware of where most people are doing traditional martial arts training. And I think we can change that. In fact, it's the stated goal of whistlekick. So how do we do that? Well, first, we have to look forward, and we have to recognize that we cannot have growth without change. Let me say that again. We cannot have growth without change. If you want things to be better, they cannot be the same. They're logically in conflict. Okay? And one of the things that we need to change so we can improve it is to do a better job of planning our classes, our curriculum, our personal progress, both as instructors and as students. As instructors, we need to be better about planning our students' progress. See, without plans and goals, we don't go as far. We know that. It's February 1st. How many of you had goals that you talked about, thought about over the last 30 days? We inherently know that goals are valuable. And guess what? A different color around the waist? Sure, that's a goal. Can be a great goal, can be a valuable goal. But if those are the only goals that happen in your school, I think you need something. I think you need more. Because sometimes the time in between belts, it's a long time. And it can become easy for someone to think that they're not reaching their goals. And sure, if you're in a position of authority, you can point at your students and say, well, that's on them. But what if it wasn't? What if you helped them? Wouldn't their experience be better? So you've been through that path. You know what it's like. You know where the sticky points are. You know where people drop out. Help them stick around. Help them see their own progress. We need to stop adhering to tradition simply because it is traditional. There are lots of things that were done traditionally that no longer serve us. In fact, throughout history, we have some traditions of some absolutely horrible things that we've gotten rid of. And I'm not even going to name them, but I'm sure you can imagine what I'm talking about here. We don't do those things anymore, but they were traditional. See, if a tradition can be replaced by something better, it probably should be. If the only reason something is done, the only reason is because it has always been done that way, that's not a good reason to keep it. You either need to find a better reason or you need to accept that there are better things that can be done. And now we're going to switch gears a little bit. I mentioned that we had some special guests, some folks who submitted videos. And for those of you out there, we opened this up. We publicized it as best we could to say we were accepting submissions. We reached out to some people and we did get a few submissions back. So the first video that we're going to play is from someone who's been on the show a number of times, someone who I think the absolute world of. And if you know this man, you likely also think very highly of him. And that is Sensei Ando.
Howdy, Ando here from Happy Life Martial Arts. I'm a martial arts teacher in Los Angeles, California. I'm also a longtime listener, occasional guest, and all-around big fan of the Whistlekick Martial Arts Radio podcast. Now, let's talk about fighting. There are many paths you can take in the martial arts, and I support all of them. Modern or traditional, people looking for fitness, fun, socializing, competition, or self-defense. Whatever reason someone comes to our door, we should welcome them. We should meet them where they are and then safely guide them to where we think they should go. But where exactly is that? Well, my hope is that every program, slowly but surely, introduces students to training against resistance. You know, fighting. Fighting not only builds character, it teaches students to protect themselves, which is what makes martial arts so special. Learning how to set boundaries, manage conflict, and defend yourself is what separates martial arts from yoga, rock climbing, dancing, and every other activity. In recent years, since the rise of MMA, many modern martial artists have criticized traditional martial arts programs that offer limited or zero resistance training. But then a funny thing happened. The foundation arts of MMA, like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, boxing, and Muay Thai, have discovered the same business reality that karate, kung fu, and taekwondo discovered years ago, which is that most people don't want to get punched in the face or choked out. So nowadays, you might find a boxing class that has no sparring, or a BJJ class that has very structured or limited rolling. How about that? So, the good news is that we may soon find ourselves in a world with more martial arts schools than ever. But the bad news is we may also find ourselves with fewer schools that offer the full benefits of martial arts, the benefits that come along with the practice of fighting. Yes, the more people training in the martial arts, the better. But once we've earned our students' trust, it's our job, our responsibility to show them how much more the martial arts has to offer, what truly makes them special. Of course, how you incorporate fighting into your program can look many different ways. That's the art of teaching, which is completely up to you. But I do hope you have a plan that never loses sight of the special purpose of the martial arts, the special purpose of teaching kind people, good people, how to speak up for themselves, stand up for themselves, and when necessary, fight for themselves, their family, and the common good. So let's keep the martial arts as martial as we can and keep fighting for a happy life.
I want to thank Ando for that contribution. I want to thank him for what he said there. I agree. Everyone's martial arts experience is better when fighting, what I would call free-form combat, free-form partner work, is incorporated. Can it be done safely? Absolutely. Are there schools that shy away from it? Yes. I'm not going to tell anybody what they have to or even should do in their school. If you have a school, you know what is best for your students. It's up to you to deliver that sort of experience. Now, my challenge to you is that if you do recognize that maybe you could have a bit more fighting, I don't love that word for the context of sparring, but we'll use it, that you take a look at where you can incorporate it more. It's something we do almost every class at my school, and most of it is done very slowly. Oh, it can be a lot of fun. Now, one of the things that we've seen over the last few years, especially as we moved through the pandemic, was that martial arts schools fell into one of two camps. Those who were reactionary and slow to react, and those who were confident in the word that I've used with my clients, the word that I'm going to continue to use here, steadfast. See, unfortunately, the need for being a steadfast entity in your community hasn't gone away. It's changed. We live in a scary time. People are terrified for any number of reasons. I don't need to name them, but I bet if you surveyed your students and you talked to them about their anxiety levels, many of them would report that they are at all-time highs. Well, that creates an opportunity for you as a martial artist, as a martial arts school, to help them. And I hope that you do. Because whether we're talking about fighting in the school as a anxiety reliever, or we're talking about a group of people who students know have their back and that everyone is there to grow together with the support of each other, remaining steadfast is something that very few businesses have the ability to offer. Your grocery store is not going to be seen as steadfast. Your auto mechanic, probably not going to be seen as steadfast. But your martial arts schools absolutely have that opportunity. Now, how do you do that? You make sure that you do what is right for your school, for your students, for your internal and external community. If you have a martial arts school and you're not doing things that at least indirectly benefit non-students, I think you're missing out on an opportunity. See, if we learn to punch and kick only for times of violence, I think we're missing out on quite a bit. But most of us know that as we're learning to punch and kick, we become better versions of ourselves, and we deserve, and I would suggest, bear the responsibility of sharing that better version of ourselves with the people around us. And it doesn't have to be in a, hey, you need to come to martial arts way. It can be a, hey, you know what? Let's all get together and train on Saturday and then go help this group, that group, clean up this trash, do this volunteer thing. You don't have to do it for press, for promotion. People will probably talk about it. It's a side benefit. Okay. Be steadfast. Be immovable as an entity. And your community will value it and will respond. You probably know schools that do that. Hopefully yours is one of them. And if it's not, take a look at what the schools that are that way, how they do it, and maybe mimic some of those things. So we have one more video, and this is from someone else that I think very highly of, someone who I learned in 2023 had a very similar mindset to my own, someone who is working to improve the martial arts world, much as we are here at Whistlekick, with a wholly different business. And I've been honored that we've had the opportunity to partner on a few things, and we've got some more things coming. Some of you will know him. And this is Gage from Kitaro.
Hi, my name is Gage Hanlon. I'm the marketing director at Kitaro Custom Martial Arts Products, and I'm also the head instructor of our dojo, Kitaro Martial Arts. We're partners with Whistlekick not only in episode sponsorship, but just also in the fact that we're big believers in what Jeremy and the entire Whistlekick team is doing to support the martial arts community as a whole. So what's the state of martial arts? From my perspective, the state of martial arts is that it's even more vital to providing a faithful constant in everybody's very busy and chaotic lives. Whether you're a school owner or a practitioner yourself, you know how important it has been for some people, literally life-changing, helping people find a new path in success that they otherwise would not have found without the martial arts. So my challenge to you this year is not only to keep working on yourself and finding that faithful constant with your own martial arts training, but reach out and try to help somebody find that faithful constant. You may very well be the reason why their life improves for the better.
Thank you, Gage. And if you're not familiar with what Gage is doing with Kitaro and the other folks at Kitaro, they make some absolutely wonderful products with a growing product line. And I would be remiss, I missed it before, if you're not checking out Sensei Ando's material, his podcast, etc., you absolutely should be. Fight for a Happy Life is a wonderful, wonderful show that I think very highly of. So let's start to look forward. For 2024, our mantra here at Whistlekick is better than I used to be. Because I believe that martial arts, as I train, makes me better than I used to be. If you've been training for a while, you're better than you used to be. Now, that doesn't mean you're better than anyone else. It's not an arrogant statement. Doesn't suggest how much better, but I know that when I train and I come out of training, I'm a little better at something in some way. Maybe the betterment to me is simply that I'm not as stressed as I was. I have a little less anxiety. Maybe I got a good workout and I can face something personally or professionally with a bit more patience. That's all better. And I'm going to encourage you, no matter what your involvement to martial arts is, that you recognize that your time training does make you better. Now, you'll find in the coming weeks and months some apparel and some other things from whistlekick that allow you to maybe have a deeper relationship with this statement, better than I used to be, which is a shortening of a longer version. Let's see if I can remember it. Being a martial artist doesn't mean that I'm better than anyone else. It means I'm better than I used to be. Because sadly, there are people out there, a surprising number of them actually are martial artists or were martial artists, that think all or even most martial artists think they're better than other people. I don't know about you. I don't think I'm worse than anyone else. I know I've worked hard on myself, a lot of that through martial arts training, and I am absolutely, unquestionably better than I used to be. When I train, I aim to be 1% better at something. And that might not seem like very much, but if we train even once a week, that's a lot of getting better over the course of a year. And what happens if I keep training year after year after year? That interest compounds, that bettering of myself compounds, and I become a much better person. It's something that we see in the martial arts world. When people find out that I train, that I'm involved in martial arts, they often tell me, I did karate, taekwondo, kung fu, whatever, as a kid for like a year. And it was so good for me. And I want my kid to do it too. I've never had anyone come up to me and say, I played a season of soccer and it changed my life. And I want my kids to have that same experience. And I bet you, if you've been around for a while, you've heard similar things. What we do is special, deserves to be protected, but it also deserves to be recognized for what it is. A year ago at this event, at the first State of the Martial Arts, we rolled out something that I'd been playing with for a long time. The 6 freedoms of martial arts. And over the course of the year, we have refined those a bit. You can find them at whistlekick.com. And as an example, the first one, the freedom to train. What, how, when, where, why, and with whom you want to train, without people interfering in it. So you can train whatever you want. I don't have to think it's worthwhile. Only you do. See, this came in response to a lot of the trolls out there because we don't need their opinions. And the 6 freedoms have really become a driving force for whistlekick. When someone applies to Whistlekick Alliance, they have to accept that they will embody the 6 freedoms in their school. And that means that we will not get all martial arts schools involved in that program. That's totally fine. See, because I believe we burn way too much energy worrying about what other people are doing. We spend far too much time as an industry tearing other people down in the industry, which is absolutely ridiculous. It is a waste of time. I would rather someone train anything, and yes, I do mean anything, than not train at all. Maybe you don't think that. That's fine. But I would encourage you to check out those 6 freedoms if you haven't seen them before. So how can you help? A lot of the things I've talked about this evening have been targeted at instructors and martial arts school owners, but the majority of people who engage with whistlekick content are not those. They are students. They train at a facility. Maybe they're higher ranking students, but they are first and foremost students. Well, the first thing that you can do to benefit the martial arts industry seems obvious. Keep taking classes. Keep being a student. If you're an instructor, keep teaching and hopefully taking classes. If you're a school owner, keep offering and hopefully taking classes. Maybe you can't do that at your school. Maybe the dynamic doesn't work well. Find a class you can take once in a while. I'm sure you can build some relationships with other schools and learn something from them, because I believe that as long as we are perpetual students, we derive perpetual benefit. The moment you stop being a student, I think that's the moment for so many things start to go sideways. How else can you help the martial arts industry? By teaching people. And I don't just mean teaching in classes. I mean teaching people what martial arts is about. By embodying it, by explaining it, by evangelizing it. Teach people what we do and why they should do it. Teach people how martial arts is going to make their lives better and help them find a place where they can train. And genuinely help them. Ask them questions. Help them understand what is important to them. And then direct them to a school that will help them with that. Guess what? It might not be your school. That's okay. How else can you help? By supporting everyone else that's training and teaching. When you see someone at a martial arts school across town doing something that you think is cool, tell them you think it's cool. Be supportive. If you have a good relationship with them and your schools cross-train together or at least permit it, show up, say hi, introduce yourself, break down those walls. I would also encourage you to challenge yourself to get better and to continue to get better, including the fear that so many of us have that keep us from supporting others. Guess what? Just because someone across town, across the state, across the world is good or better than you has nothing to do with your journey as a martial artist. The only time comparing ourselves is relevant is in competition. And 99% of the time, we are engaged in non-competitive practices. Keep that in mind. Allow yourself to recognize that, you know what? Maybe I'm not better. Maybe that person's better than me. You know what's awesome about not being better? You have another person you can learn from. I love being in the back of the room. I love learning. It's a great place to be because it helps me get better. And then lastly, the last way that I wrote down that you can help the martial arts industry is by recognizing that it's not the school across town or over there or down the street that you're really competing with. It's not other martial artists that you're fighting with for students or recognition. It's apathy. It's television. It's video games. It's, other physical pursuits. It's soccer, it's basketball, seasonal sports. If you truly want to make the world a better place, produce the best possible martial arts program you can. And you as students, you have tons of say. Maybe not in how classes are conducted, but in how you show up to them. When you show up to class and you're ready to go and you're giving it your all, you inspire everyone else around you. So even on those days where maybe you're not feeling it, still show up, still give it your all, because you give permission to everyone else to do the same when you do that. You have a lot of influence. I don't care if you've been training a week or 50 years, you have influence on the people you're training with. Don't forget that. Now, as we wind up here, I would encourage you, check out martialjournal.com. We have a recruitment drive going on right now. We'd love to see some new writers over there. It is a completely free and volunteer-run effort. If you'd like to get a hold of me, if you have things you would like to say, maybe things you want to follow up on, you can email me, jeremy@whistlekick.com. Of course, our social media everywhere you could imagine is @whistlekick. And I want to say thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting this effort. And thank you for supporting our mission here at Whistlekick to make the world a better place through the training of traditional martial arts. I appreciate all of you. And until next time, train hard, smile, and have a great day.